How is it going, everybody? Well, I have to apologize, everybody, for being such a, not available lately. I have just been really, really busy with work lately, and unfortunately, that causes me not to be able to do a lot of video recordings. When I'm not busy, I have more time to dedicate to that type of stuff. But this week has just been, this past week and a half or so has just been really, really, really busy, and it's coming up on end of quarter. Um, so there's just a lot of stuff that had to get wrapped up, a lot of big projects that I was working on. So that's just the reason why I have been so quiet lately. Before I get into giving any more excuses as to why I haven't been around, I would like to give a huge shout out to everybody on the channel. You guys have been awesome. 3,000 subscribers, and it's just that's like blows my mind at how big that is. It's I'm blown away every day. I honestly am, and um, I'm consistently getting people commenting on videos and stuff like that, and I try to respond to them as quickly as I can. If it's worth responding to, if you're going to sit there, if you criticize or uh, you know, I typically, if I think if I think it requires or needs a response, I do. If I don't think it's worth it, I just will let it sit. But yeah, it's been crazy. 3,000 subscribers. Um, actually, I didn't know this about YouTube until I started working with INE. When they bought all the videos, they any videos that I had up on the channel that were public, that I've moved, I completely removed all those videos. They're still on the channel, they're just not public. Um, and INE has them now. So um, I didn't realize by taking those videos and moving them, making them unpublic anymore, so basically making them private, um, basically makes them, I lose all the views for them. So like on your screen you'll see that I have 140,000 views sitting here. That's actually not accurate. It's accurate to the videos that are public, but total view count I'm around 300,000, if not a little bit higher. And it kind of sucks too, because when I had the videos, I was when I had everything up, it was over 200,000, and um, then it decided to dive bomb, and it took a couple of weeks, but they updated themselves, and now I'm at 140,000. I mean, it's still impressive, but a lot of what I'm doing here isn't uh, none of it's really hardcore series wise. So what have I been up to lately? I'm sure you guys are curious. Um, I have been super busy, and I am in the process of doing the service provider track, and I have been one of the things that I have to do, that I've been doing since I started doing training videos, is I have to go through the material and know it better than you guys, so that I can teach it. So I have been labbing up a ton of different things. I'm using Viral for all of that. So if you haven't seen Viral, I've been doing a lot of Viral lately. I'm actually building out a very large topology for the CCNP service provider. I'm actually going through each one of those exams, and I am putting together the basically what I do, the process for how I do things. Give me one second. Let me move this out of the way so that I don't bump it. Basically, the way that I go about setting up a video series is I go out and I download the blueprint from Cisco's website, and I have the PDF version of that. So if I was to pull up that, you'll see on the screen that there's a lot of, you have to go through OSPF and OSPF V2 and V3 and understand how all this stuff works. So basically what I'm doing is I follow this blueprint, and it takes a long time because there's a lot of material. Now, whereas like CCNA does cover some OSPF, some EIGRP, some BGP, a little bit of RIP, just to give you an idea of what some of the routing protocols are. Service provider in the CCNP level goes much, much deeper. So I'm having to deal with setting up BGP and EBGP peerings and whatnot, and it's a full-on, you know, going through and understanding exactly how this stuff works. And it takes a long time to put this together. So I'm spending a lot of time in Notepad copying and pasting file, or you know, going through and looking up how stuff works, and you know, building out a what I would consider to be a very detailed video series. And the same thing goes with all the other ones. So you take, if people are curious to see how I go about doing this, I go out and I download the blueprint, and then I work off of the blueprint. And okay, what else do I need to worry about? You know, what are some of the issues that might pop up? And it takes a long time to go through that because of the fact that the level of excuse me, the level of detail that is required for the CCNP service provider. You know, and I've taken the CCNP exam, so I remember what the route switch CCNP entailed. And there's 4 exams for service provider. You know, you have route, advanced route, you have edge, and you have core. And edge, or I'm sorry, advanced route. Let me go ahead and pull that one up too. Actually, I'll pause the video, I'll bring up all of them, and I'll kind of go through what each one of them does. So the regular route goes through just basically the IGPs, low-level BGP, nothing really complicated on BGP, and then it goes into the routing policy language, and then high availability routing features. So it does cover some relatively in-depth topics. And then advanced route takes you a bit deeper. This guy here, we're going way deeper inside of BGP, way deeper, to the point where we're hitting just about everything there is possible to know about BGP. So if you know BGP already, you're already in a good spot. You've already got a majority of that stuff down. You really need to go through and spend the majority of the time on the advanced features, route reflection configurations, and then dealing with multi-home BGP. So that's a lot of what we're going to be doing in the CCNP videos. I'm going to be producing them all for INE. So I haven't actually gone through and specifically set up all this stuff for INE yet, but it's the conversations that have been had. It hasn't been put into a you know, they haven't actually put together the paperwork for it yet, but it's more or less it's been a verbal, yeah, sure, why not, go ahead. And then we have multicast. If you're not familiar with multicast, that's okay, because there is a lot of multicast to talk about. That's going to be a big section of that exam. And then L2 VPNs, you know, understanding how, you know, all that type of stuff works in the environment and what you need to know about how that stuff goes. And then carrier Ethernet is a big deal. If you're not familiar with CE, that's going to be something you're going to want to spend some time on. And mind you, we're going to be covering all these topics, so I'm actually going through the process and building out these, each one of these video series as we go through, and the content that goes with them. SP Core is going to be more specific to MPLS and QoS. So a lot of QoS for the core to be able to handle different types of traffic in the network, and then it gets into MPLS, and it's very heavy on MPLS, you know, and there's going to be a lot of details to cover with that, transport technologies and the different capabilities that are available in there. And it's one of those things where the deeper we go into these different areas of the exam, the more complicated the topologies are going to get, and more complicated the scenarios are going to get. Because the fact that it's literally this is where the majority of people that I work with in the service provider network, this is where they spend the majority of their time. You know, they're dealing with this type of stuff right here. And then you have SP Edge. This stuff is more specific to MPLS, layer 2 and layer 3 VPN. So you'll have all the different VPN technologies that are out there, and implementing how the majority of them work. There's a lot to go over. This one's actually a pretty light in total size. It's actually the smallest of the exams. There's not a ton to cover when it comes to the edge exam, because of the fact that it's focusing on strictly edge technologies. So there are a lot of technologies here, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things where if you're already familiar with a lot of this stuff, you'll be in really good shape. Like, it's got hierarchical VPLS, it's got provider backbone bridging, or EVPN PBB, or 802.1AH. So there's a lot of stuff in here that is really necessary for you to understand how this stuff works. So it's really cool in most cases. It's pretty much just requires you to understand how things work. So for anybody that's curious, I will be using Viral for all of these topologies and setting this stuff up. So let me go ahead and pull up VM Maestro and just kind of give you guys a couple minute breakdown as exactly how we would go about doing this. So this would be a sample topology that I would run with probably CCNA service provider. It's not exactly sure if this is going to be the exact one that I go with yet. I'm still trying to decide how I would go about doing that. But you know, when it comes to creating a topology, if you don't know how to do this, it's actually very, very simple. So like, well, let's say for instance I go file and I say I want to do a new, and I want to do a new topology file. I would come in here and I would just name this, we'll say ccnp-sp.viral, and you have to end the file name with viral. Actually, that's not where I want to do. I want to do it down here. File name is going to be ccnp sp.viral. And let's see here. Why is it not working out? Is an invalid name on this platform. Okay. Oh, my apologies. All right, there we go. That might be why. ccnp sp.viral. There we go. So you have to select the folder it's going to go into, which is my topologies. I could create my own folder, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. Click on finish, and it's going to load up a blank topology. Very similar to the way GNS3 would do things. So unlike GNS3 where you can just start copying stuff over, you have to create the viral setup, and then from here what you would do is you'd come in here and you would grab and copy over the devices you want to run. So in this case here, I would say I'm going to grab XRV, and I'm going to put, say, 5 of those guys or 6 of those guys, and then CSR 1000V or iOS XE, we'll do 5 of those guys, and well, let's do 7 there, and then I would use just regular iOS-V and have a bunch of these guys. Would be I would do 20 because that's my node limit. So let's see if I've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then I probably would actually eliminate one of these guys. I would delete this guy, and I would have to grab a couple of unmanaged switches and connect them together and test it out. But I would max out at 20, and what I would use the iOS-V devices for is like the end devices, so the edge. And what I would do is I would come in here and I would take these guys, and I'm not going to actually go through the implementation, but what I would do is I would have each one of these guys connected to an unmanaged switch. And so let me kind of give you guys an example of how that would work. You grab an unmanaged switch, and plug that guy down here, plug that guy down here. Okay, so now what I would do here is I would grab the connector from here to here, and then I would go from here to here, and then I would go from here to here. Now the cool thing about this is on the iOS-V side, I could take and put, I could create a sub-interface on this particular router, and then put each one of those sub-interfaces into a different VLAN, and then I would be able to put each one into a different VRF. And then on the CSR 1000V side, I would also be able to create a VRF. So you could utilize multiple edge devices as multiple customers. So it would not be multi-VRF CE in that respect. What it would actually be is like having iOS V1. I could have CSR 1000V and whatnot. As long as you have a different VLAN assignment to it, you can have one router acting as multiple customer devices. So the idea would be having different subnets. You would use like a /32 mask to accomplish this, and then you could say, inside of VRF X, it would be customer X. Inside of VRF Y, it would be customer Y, and then you could ping, and they would be able to learn routes for those particular VRFs. So, ironically, and actually very, very helpful to me, is the company that I work for. We actually just made an acquisition of we actually own an ISP now. and I have been working pretty heavily on the ISP side, and which actually plays very handily into my service provider training. So I spend just about as much time on iOS XR as I spend on iOS. So ASR 9001s and 2s and ASR 1006s, really high-end devices. And so when I'm going through that, it's a lot of the stuff that's on the CCNP SP exam is going to play very, very nicely into everything else that we're going to be doing. So I am really, really excited about this opportunity, and I'm also working on CCNA wireless at the same time. So I need to actually get that cert for work for a partner role. And if you're not familiar with that, partners typically are going to have different requirements. And basically what those requirements are is the partner role will the partnership will require certain people to have certain certifications. And in order to be gold, you have to have a minimum of 4 CCIEs and 2 Cisco sales experts. I'm not sure if there's anything else besides that, but that's the ones that I'm pretty sure on. So I hold a CCIE, and so do 3 other people that work with me. So I work with 3 other CCIEs. And so one of the things that's very valuable to us is a guy with service provider experience is very helpful. I happen to be the guy with service provider experience. So I'm bringing that to the table, and there's also other guys in the network that also know the SP track as well. So what we're doing is the partner requirements. So they have these different roles and specializations inside of the partnerships. So in order for my company to become a gold level partner with Cisco, you actually have to go in and they'll assign different roles to different people. So there will be a career certification goal, so like CCNA wireless, CCNP routing and switching, CCNA voice or collaboration, things like that. And what they'll do then is they'll have what they call a specialization certification. And the specialization certification basically is going to be, for instance, it could be ASA specialist, it could be iOS XR specialist, it could be, ICE specialist if you deal a lot with the security track. If you've never heard of ICE, it's Identity Services Engine, and or ISE, and it's pretty widely deployed and it's very common in environments today. So there's a lot of that. You can also have iron port specialists for doing a lot of the web filtering and stuff like that. So Cisco has a lot of specializations. I plan on eventually getting iOS XR specialist and ASA specialist, but I'm learning one technology at a time. And XR I'm making very, very good progress on. ASA I will follow up very soon because I want to know ASA. I don't know it as well as I want to. So, but then again, I don't want to be a security guy, but I want to know the platform because that's what I work on the most. Or probably one of the more common devices I work on is ASA. Fortunately, we just hired a guy that's got a security CCIE, and he's really good on ASA, so that takes a lot of the burden off of me, which is very, very reassuring to me because then I don't have to okay, I don't know how to do that. Because when you know something as well as you do like the routing and switching side of the house, when it comes to routing and switching, that's kind of my thing. I enjoy that type of work. Where ASA, I don't know that as well, so I'm not going to feel as comfortable, and there's not going to be the level of confidence that would be for route switch, right? Just like, if you're a voice guy, you're going to understand call manager, you're going to understand, hunt groups and translation patterns, and I work with a couple of voice or collaboration CCIEs. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was in Chicago doing a big upgrade, and I was on site to take care of the routing and switching portion of it and to deploy the hardware, which I commonly do. And a collaboration CCIE was the guy doing all the work on the call managers and with Unity, and I'm really not sure beyond that what all they do, but I know Unity is voicemail because of the fact that we got a couple of collaboration CCIEs. I've been learning voice a little bit, so it's how all that type of stuff works, and it's actually really, really cool, and how you port numbers over, and you get into you set up SIP trunks with a provider, and then that's how you're able to get phone calls to come in and out. And don't quote me if I'm wrong. I'm not a voice guy, not even the basics really. I can set up the networking to support voice, but beyond that, the in order to do all the actual voice stuff, way outside of my comfort zone. I would probably break more things than I would be successful in setting up. So, but that's okay. That's why they have guys that do that. So, you guys have been absolutely awesome. I wanted to put out a quick shout out to everybody to stay positive. Don't let nobody bring you down. I don't let that happen to me, and neither should you. The one thing that I will say when it comes to don't let nobody bring you down is there are gonna be people that um, say it can't be done, and there's actually a very very good quote that I read on Facebook the other day, and it says it's gonna happen because I'm gonna make it happen, and I was like, wow, that's very very true, and it's one of those things where I don't let life dictate how I do things. I basically get in there and I dictate how I want life to work. And and that's unfortunately it's kind of a two-way street. I spend a lot of time studying. I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and there are other things that I miss out on. There's certain sacrifices. Like right now, my youngest son is a big snowboarder, so I'm at home while he's out snowboarding. But then again, it's cold outside, and I don't want to be out in the cold. So, but he's really good at it, and so we have a I don't want to sound like a bad dad, but there are certain times where it's better to let me do what I got to do to make money for the family, just to be able to support his snowboarding habit, I guess you could call it. He's good at it, and it takes money to be able to continue to do what he wants to do. So I don't always go out and see him do snowboarding, but I'm the one that earns the money, so he can go out and snowboard. So it's kind of how I don't want to use that as a justification for it, but it's he understands, and so it works out. I do go out and see him snowboard, and he's actually really really good. I'm actually really impressed for being 6 how good he really is. And that's coming from, that's not just me going on, okay, you can come down the hill, great job. That's actually having people come up to me and say, your kid, he's really good for 6. That's people that have been snowboarding, 2 or 3 times longer than he's been alive. I think his one instructor's just graduated from high school, so that would put him at what, 17, 18? And he's been snowboarding twice as long as my son's been alive. So to have him come up and say he's really good for 6, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And it's an ego boost. I go and I share that with him, and I'm like, you're doing really really good. It's the thing that in order to be successful, you have to have a good support system, and I support his habit by habit. Doesn't have a habit. He has an interest, and snowboarding happens to be his interest, and he spends a lot of time on it. So I'm not going to slow him down. I'm going to say, okay, keep doing it. And he's doing really really good. So you have to, in order to be successful, you have to have a good support system. If you don't have that, I feel for you. I had to create a support system when I got into IT because nobody wanted to sacrifice time away from me, with me being on the computer learning. But the time that the people in my family did sacrifice now has been, it pays off now because I had the money to do things. And you want to do this? Okay, here you go. And it's not, I don't even question it. It's just like, we can do it. We have the money for it. But it took a lot of sacrifice to be able to earn that money. And a lot of the certifications and a lot of experience that I have affords me the ability to do that. And if you're not there yet, keep trudging along, man. Eventually it will happen. And am I done yet? Not by a long shot. I feel like I really haven't even hit my stride yet. I'm just getting rolling with INE. I have a feeling that's going to be a very, very, very big turnout. Once I've casted a pretty wide net when it comes to the amount of videos that I've given them and the money that I'm making from those videos, and which is very, very cool. And in addition to that, there's a level of, you have to really want to do something in order for it to be successful. I like recording videos. That's why I'm recording a video right now. And it's been really cool. It definitely it helps me make sure that I stay on track and it keeps me in check. Then if you didn't know this, the main reason why I created the videos is to act like a quality assurance check to make sure that I really know what I'm talking about. And if I don't, I knew people would comment, and say, okay, nah, you don't really know what you're doing. So that put a little bit of an extra level of, okay, I really have to understand this in order for me to be able to teach it. And so the quality control or quality assurance check that goes into that, which is really beneficial to me because now you spend that much more time making sure you completely and thoroughly understand it, and then you can go ahead and deliver that material. And you want to sound like you know what you're talking about when you're teaching it. The moment you hear the person talking they're talking clearly and um, poignantly on the topic, and then they they slow down, and there's you can tell the person hasn't been through it before, or they've only read it about it, or they think they understand it, but they really don't. And Albert Einstein actually has a really good quote. It says that if you can't explain something simply, you don't know it well enough. And that could be truer. I mean, it's absolutely what it is. And a lot of times, a lot of the issues that I deal with at work are trying to field customer questions and being able to say, okay, they want to do this, and if you really aren't that good in that area, you're not going to be able to come up with very many solutions. You're going to be limited to the scope of understanding that you already have. And you might have to go talk to somebody else. We have a couple of, and I actually like the term associate engineers that deal a lot with a lot of the lower level stuff. They're not senior level guys. They're associate level guys, and they come to me and they're like, well, hey, I'm looking at doing this, and they're coming to me because of the fact that I know more technologies. I know them deeper. And I always tell them, if you have a question, come ask me. I will help you out as best as I can. And a lot of times it's, okay, have you thought about doing this? Or, okay, how long have they been doing that? Is there a reason why they went this direction? And just to get an idea as to why things are working the way that they are, or that was already implemented when I got there, whatever the case might be, and then offer them a couple of different solutions, because then that right there will help them figure it out. And it's one of those things where a lot of times, and just recently I was actually told that uh, people that I work with, and no one came up to me and told me this. I was actually a bit taken back on it, but I've heard it before, where um, I can come or I can be interpreted as cocky or arrogant. And I had to sit back and think about it. I'm like, okay, when did I ever come off? I had to think about when I would have been like that, because um, some people have misinterpreted cocky and arrogance for confidence. There's but you don't want to come off as a jerk. Like, well, of course it would. You have to maintain a level of tact that you have to be basically what it comes down to, and I don't have a really good metaphor to use with it, but people come to me and say, okay, how come this isn't working? And I'm like, okay, and I don't ever judge their level of understanding. Let me take a look at it, and then I explain why the problem is existing once I figured it out, because then it's I'm helping them understand what's going on, and a lot of times it's not simple stuff. It's a little more complicated implementation or what have you. But one thing I never want to do, either on this channel or in my professional career, is come off as cocky or arrogant, because that is totally not what I'm trying to accomplish here. Cocky and arrogance has no room in my life. Where cocky and arrogance is somewhat misinterpreted as such is when you're trying to explain something, or you're coming off like you know more than you should. And that just comes with the territory. There's really no getting around that. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast. I don't like it any more than anybody else does, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So, um, there's a you have to tread lightly, and treat people with respect, and be humble. Be not everybody's going to have the same level of technical understanding that you or I do, and it's important to keep that in mind. So You guys have been awesome. Thank you for all the support. 3,000 subscribers. Mind blown. You guys take it easy. See you next time.